Introduction. Macbeth, written by William Shakespeare in the early 1600s, is a tragedy that delves into the darker aspects of human nature, exploring themes of ambition, power, guilt, and the supernatural. Set in medieval Scotland, the play follows the rise and fall of Macbeth, a noble warrior whose overwhelming ambition leads him down a path of murder, tyranny, and ultimately, destruction. This analysis will break down the key events, characters, and themes essential for excelling in GCSE English literature. Act 1. The Witch's Prophecy. The play opens with a scene that sets the tone for the entire drama. 3 witches on a barren Scottish heath, amidst thunder and lightning, uttering the enigmatic line, "Fair is foul, and foul is fair." This paradox introduces the theme of appearances versus reality and the inversion of moral order that will dominate the play. We are then introduced to Macbeth, a valiant warrior, and his companion Banquo, who encounter the witches on their return from battle. The witches greet Macbeth with 3 titles: Thane of Glamis, his current title, Thane of Cawdor, and King Hereafter. Banquo too receives a prophecy, though more cryptic: "Thou shalt get kings, though thou be none." The witches' prophecies plant the seeds of ambition in Macbeth, who soon learns that King Duncan has indeed granted him the title of Thane of Cawdor, thus validating part of the witches' words. At the royal court in Forres, King Duncan praises Macbeth's bravery, and Macbeth begins to harbour thoughts of what it would take to fulfil the final part of the prophecy. Lady Macbeth, upon reading Macbeth's letter detailing the encounter with the witches, immediately plots to murder Duncan, fearing her husband is too full of the milk of human kindness to seize the throne. Act 2. The Murder of Duncan. In Act 2, the action moves to Macbeth's castle at Inverness, where King Duncan arrives as a guest. The tension heightens as Macbeth contemplates the murder of Duncan. His famous soliloquy, "Is this a dagger which I see before me, the handle toward my hand?" reveals his inner turmoil, as he envisions a bloody dagger leading him towards Duncan's chamber. This scene marks Macbeth's transition from a loyal subject to a regicidal tyrant. Lady Macbeth takes control, dismissing Macbeth's hesitations, and drugs Duncan's guards to ensure they take the blame for the murder. Macbeth emerges from Duncan's chamber, bloodstained and horrified by his own actions. The murder is discovered the next morning, throwing Scotland into chaos. Macbeth, however, immediately starts covering his tracks, killing the guards in a feigned fit of rage and blaming them for the king's death. Act 3. The Tyranny of Macbeth. As Act 3 unfolds, Macbeth's reign begins, but it is marred by paranoia and insecurity. Although he has achieved his ambition, he cannot escape the fear that the witch's prophecy to Banquo will come true. To be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus. Fearing Banquo's descendants will overthrow him, Macbeth arranges for the murder of Banquo and his son Fleance. Banquo is killed, but Fleance escapes, leaving Macbeth feeling even more vulnerable. During a royal banquet, Macbeth is haunted by Banquo's ghost, which only he can see. His descent into madness becomes apparent as he publicly unravels, shouting at the empty chair where Banquo's ghost sits. Lady Macbeth attempts to maintain order, but it is clear that the guilt and paranoia are consuming them both. Act 4. The Witches' New Prophecies. In Act 4, Macbeth seeks out the witches again, desperate to know his fate. They offer him 3 new prophecies: to beware Macduff, that no man born of a woman will harm him, and that he will remain safe until Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane. Macbeth takes these prophecies as signs of his invincibility, but he orders the slaughter of Macduff's family as a precaution. The scene shifts to England, where Malcolm, Duncan's son, is rallying forces to overthrow Macbeth. Macduff, devastated by the news of his family's murder, vows to take revenge on Macbeth. This act emphasizes the theme of justice and retribution, as Macduff emerges as Macbeth's moral opposite. Act 5. Macbeth's Downfall. Act 5 marks the final unravelling of Macbeth's power. Lady Macbeth, who was once the driving force behind the regicide, is now consumed by guilt, sleepwalking, and attempting to wash imaginary blood from her hands. Out, damn spot! Out, I say! Her descent into madness culminates in her death, which is reported to Macbeth with the cold, resigned words, "She should have died hereafter." Meanwhile, Malcolm's forces march on Dunsinane, using branches from Birnam Wood to disguise their numbers, thus fulfilling the witch's prophecy. In the climactic battle, Macbeth, still clinging to the prophecy that no man born of a woman can harm him, is confronted by Macduff, who reveals he was born by caesarean section, from his mother's womb untimely ripped. Realizing the witches have deceived him, Macbeth fights on but is ultimately killed by Macduff. Malcolm is crowned king, restoring order to Scotland. Key characters and relationships. Macbeth, Macbeth is the tragic hero whose fatal flaw, unchecked ambition, leads to his downfall. Initially a brave and noble warrior, he is corrupted by the witch's prophecies and his own desires for power. His relationship with Lady Macbeth is central to the plot, as she pushes him to commit regicide. But as the play progresses, they grow increasingly isolated from each other, consumed by guilt and madness. Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth is a complex character, initially appearing as ruthless and ambitious, far more so than her husband. She manipulates Macbeth to pursue power at any cost, famously invoking the spirits to unsex me here, to rid herself of feminine weakness. However, her strength is ultimately her undoing, as she succumbs to guilt and madness, highlighting the destructive power of unchecked ambition. Banquo serves as a foil to Macbeth. While both men are given prophecies by the witches, Banquo remains skeptical and morally upright, in contrast to Macbeth's moral disintegration. His murder by Macbeth is a turning point, and his ghost symbolizes Macbeth's inescapable guilt. Macduff. Macduff represents justice and retribution. As a character, he is the antithesis of Macbeth, embodying loyalty, honor, and moral integrity. His personal vendetta against Macbeth, driven by the murder of his family, culminates in the play's resolution, where he restores order by killing Macbeth. The witches, or Weird Sisters, are pivotal in driving the play's action. Their prophecies ignite Macbeth's ambition, but they also symbolize the unpredictable and uncontrollable forces of fate. Their ambiguous statements leave open the question of whether Macbeth's downfall is predestined or the result of his own choices. Duncan and Malcolm. King Duncan is portrayed as a benevolent and just ruler whose murder disrupts the natural order. Malcolm, his son, represents the rightful succession and the restoration of order. His cautious and strategic approach contrasts with Macbeth's impulsive and tyrannical rule. Themes: ambition and power. The central theme of Macbeth is the corrupting influence of ambition. Macbeth's unchecked desire for power leads him to commit unspeakable acts, transforming him from a respected nobleman into a tyrant. Shakespeare explores how ambition, when not tempered by moral restraint, can lead to self-destruction. Guilt and conscience. Guilt permeates the play, with blood symbolizing the irreversible nature of Macbeth's crimes. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth both experience profound guilt, Macbeth through his hallucinations and Lady Macbeth through her obsessive hand-washing. Their descent into madness reflects the psychological consequences of their deeds. Fate versus free will. The tension between fate and free will is a recurring theme in Macbeth. The witch's prophecies suggest a predetermined outcome, yet it is Macbeth's own choices that lead him to his tragic end. The play raises the question of whether Macbeth is fated to fall, or if he has the agency to alter his destiny. The nature of kingship. Shakespeare contrasts the tyrannical rule of Macbeth with the legitimate and just leadership of Duncan and Malcolm. The play serves as a commentary on the qualities of a good ruler, emphasizing that kingship requires integrity, justice, and responsibility. The supernatural. The supernatural elements in Macbeth, the witches, visions, and ghosts, create an atmosphere of foreboding and highlight the theme of the unknown forces that influence human destiny. The witches in particular serve as catalysts for the action, but their true nature and intentions remain ambiguous. Conclusion: Macbeth is a profound exploration of ambition, morality, and the human condition. Through its complex characters, gripping plot, and enduring themes, Shakespeare's tragedy continues to resonate with audiences today. The play serves as a timeless reminder of the perils of unchecked ambition and the inevitable consequences of moral corruption.